and welcome back to the Fundamentally Fit podcast with me, your host, Andy Strong. And a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to wherever it is that you are listening to this week's podcast. I'm in the studio, it's 33 degrees. I am absolutely sweltering hot. It seems we start all podcasts with a comment on the weather, and boy oh boy are we having some weather right now. I think it's a heat wave, officially a heat wave. I'm not really sure what the categorization is to be a heat wave, but it's pretty damn hot in here. I've got all the windows shut, I've got all the doors shut, and I've got two huge studio lights pouring light over me to try and improve the sound quality of the podcast. But I'm doing it and I'm suffering. I'm suffering for the podcast. So please know that I'm sat here very, very hot and very, very keen that the next 15 to 20 minutes go very smoothly so I don't have to do any reshoots and I can get outside and get some fresh air. But it's been quite a few weeks since I sat down to have a conversation with everybody, so I hope you're all keeping really, really well. It's been a really busy time, and as I mentioned in a podcast a little while ago that I was going to be taking a short break with the podcast, it's actually now I'm in a position where I can bring it back regularly. I'm hoping every week. That's what I'm aiming for now. And I'm in a position where I can actually start doing that again. Now, one of the reasons that I've been away is that if you follow us on social media, if you're not, head over to Fundamentally Fit on Facebook, head over to fundamentallyfit.co.uk, and you can find our social media channels there at FunFitPics on Instagram. But one of the things that happened this week was that we launched a brand new website. And you have heard me, if you're a regular listener of the podcast, talking about lots of the different nutrition coaching services that I've been introducing here at Fundamentally Fit. And that's kind of been stepping stones towards a much bigger goal and a much bigger project that I've been working on. So this week, I was very pleased to announce the official launch of fundamentallyfitnutrition.com. And basically, this brand new website brings together all of our nutrition coaching services in under one roof. So everything you need for your lifestyle change, whether it be in terms of needing some meal plans to follow to get you started, whether you're looking for a dietary analysis to go deeper into your own particular diet and struggles, or if you're looking to have a more structured approach with weekly or fortnightly coaching, we have our 3 hours weight loss program there as well. So I'm not going to go into masses of detail about each of those particular services today because I don't want this podcast to be a massive sales pitch. It's never really what it's been about. But what I will do is I'm going to be talking today about, a little bit about what I've been up to the last few weeks, a little bit about my wedding and why I've been away. Part of it is to do with the launch of the new part of the business, and also because I've been prepping for my wedding, which is coming around ridiculously quick at the time of recording this podcast. But what I also want to talk to you today is I want to talk to you about inertia and the law of momentum. And this is something that hit me quite hard this week. So this is a concept that I came across a little while ago, but there was a particular incident over the last week which I want to share that story with you. It's quite a sad story, but I want to share it with you because it has resonated and it's hit me personally quite hard. And it kind of solidifies a lot of the very core reasons as to why I actually came into the fitness industry, why I came into the nutrition space, and why I have such a deep-rooted passion for helping people change their lives. Fundamentallyfitnutrition.com is not designed to just be another nutrition service to relieve you of your money and leave you disappointed with no results. It is something that I've set up, and there's a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of thought gone into everything that's on this new website and in the services that I'm going to be providing people. So what I want to do today is not give you the big sell, is to just let you know a little bit about why I got into the industry and a little bit about why I feel so strongly about people changing their lifestyles for the better. If that resonates with you, then that's fantastic. If you enjoy listening to the podcast, as always, that's great. We love having you here. But if you do find that the message resonates with you and you'd like to learn more, then please do head over to fundamentallyfitnutrition.com. We have everything from a free report there into a kitchen audit, so you can basically start your weight loss journey for free with some help and guidance from ourselves, including a free webinar where you can jump on and have a live demonstration of some of the overhauls that you could make in your diet. So go check out the kitchen audit, go check out fundamentallyfitnutrition.com after this podcast. But first and foremost, I'm really pleased that you could be here today, and let's jump into the main topics and let's see if we can kind of move things forward. So as I said already, I'm pleased to be back on the podcast. I hope you enjoyed the podcast we had a few weeks ago with Johnny from For Health Osteopathy. Johnny's going to be back in a couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about pain, and we're going to be talking about pain, how you perceive pain, and also how you perceive pain from the perspective of what Johnny's work in osteopathy. And it's a really, really interesting podcast, and I really do hope you tune in for that one. But kicking into today, alongside launching the brand new business arm of the business, I've been planning for my wedding, which is really exciting. And well, it is exciting, but it's coming around really, really quickly. And I'm sure anybody out there who's already got married has organised this sort of thing. It kind of is like a snowball, and we've been fairly well organised up to this point. We're fairly on top of everything, but things are starting to pick up momentum like the snowball at the top of the hill, and there's more and more things to sort out, questions that have to be answered that we've been putting off, and so it certainly is keeping me very, very busy. Now, a big part of prepping for the wedding, and it's another reason why I've struggled to do the podcast for the last 6 weeks or so, is because we've had lots of wedding things to do. So we've been to Scotland quite a lot, we've been organising events, we've been checking in with lots of the different things going on, and have been doing a lot of training to prep for the wedding. Now, myself and Kirsty, my beautiful bride-to-be, took the decision this year that we wouldn't be pursuing lots and lots of endurance races like we normally would. So normally we would do lots of runs, lots of 10Ks, half marathons early and late season. We would usually do one big event a year, whether that be a marathon or a half Ironman or an Ironman, or sometimes it's a marathon. Sometimes it's last year our main big event was the Rocky Ridge Trail half marathon in Las Trampas in California. But this year we took the decision that the most important thing for us was to be in fantastic shape for the wedding. Follow some of those kind of slightly more vain, if you like, goals, and actually just focus on looking and feeling really, really good for the big day. So I set myself, and as many of you may have seen on social media, I set myself the wedding day challenge, and it's all been going really, really well. There's the before photos are still out there on social media. I will be sharing the afters. I haven't forgotten, for those of you who think that this is something I've done and then completely forgotten about. I'm working very hard for those after photos, and I will be sharing those in the next 6 weeks. So I have been training very, very hard. My personal aim was to add a little bit more muscle mass, which is not something I traditionally do in my training because I do lots of endurance training normally. So it's been really fun to mix up what I've been doing. Been in the gym a lot more, working on adding muscle mass, trying to strip back a little bit of the fat as well. And I'm now in the point where I'm upping the cardiovascular training again, doing more running, and actually starting to increase the rep range in the gym. And what that's enabling me to do is really focus heavily on the definition that I'm building. So hopefully when I have to take my shirt off for the after photos, and as I said at the start, put my money where my mouth is, it will be worth it, and you'll be able to see the hard work that's gone in over the last few months. Although there is one massive drawback, is that if I keep doing the squats, I am going to have to buy more trousers because they are getting ridiculously tight. So that is a downside of doing lots of strength training. It's losing weight's one thing, 'cause you have to buy new clothes. Actually building muscle mass is a problem too, because everything gets tight, and then you have issues with stuff fitting properly. But that's what I've been working on. One of my goals that I attached to that was actually I wanted to drop my body fat, but I also wanted to get my squat up to body weight, which was 72 kilos, and I have managed to do that. I managed to do that a lot faster than I thought I would. So that was one of the main goals. My other main goal that I attached to the wedding day plan was that I wanted to get my 5k parkrun time below 19 minutes, and I got down to 20:20, so I was on the right path. I was going in the right direction, and that was up till about 6 weeks ago, and then we've had all the hot weather, a holiday, and it's just not gone so well. So hopefully I will keep persevering and I will hit that goal before the wedding day in 7 weeks. But last week I was a full 3 minutes adrift because it was just so ridiculously hot. But that is the wedding day challenge. So stay tuned on social media for updates on that. There will be the after photos coming in the next few weeks. And I hope you're all impressed. And hopefully it's a great demonstration, not to say, hey, look at me, but actually just showing what can be done if you get stuck in for 3 months and actually train hard. Now, that being said, that's a little bit about what I've been up to in terms of launching the new part of the business, in terms of preparing for the wedding. And that kind of moves us on to the main part of what I really want to talk about today. And that is why I got into this industry and why I have the passion that I do for working with people, helping them overturn the struggles they have and actually change their lifestyle for the better. Now, as a lot of you will know, or maybe not, it depends when you tune into this podcast, my background is that I actually lost 3.5 stone when I was younger. I was a very, very overweight teenager. I struggled with my weight a lot growing up. It affected my confidence. It affected the exercise that I did. I was never the sporty person. I remember my PE teacher telling me that this is probably my last PE class, that this will probably be the last time that you ever exercise. And I remember thinking to myself, you know what, you're absolutely right, this probably will be. But my journey didn't stop there, hence the reason I'm actually sat in front of you having this conversation today. I ended up getting into this industry not because I chose that I specifically wanted to be a personal trainer. I was not one of the people that came in with with an underlying love of football and sport in general. That really isn't me. But I came into the industry because I had lost the weight myself. I have family medical history that is not good, to say the least. And so when I went to college and it was pointed out as to how bad my weight was, I realised I had to do something about it, because I knew that the family history, medical history was so bad, and a lot of that was related to weight, that if I didn't make these changes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, heart attack, stroke, all of these things run in my family. And so my potential risk was already elevated and is now, just because those things run in my family. So without looking after myself, my chances of having one of these conditions was seriously high, and it still remains very high today just for that reason. So I do have to look after myself, and it really isn't something I find easy all of the time, but it is something I do work at all of the time to try and make it as manageable as possible. Now, over the last few weeks, I've been to quite a few different places, and one of the recurring things that's kind of been running through my mind is a couple of weeks ago I was up at Goodwood for the Festival of Speed, and I was sat there having a coffee, and I was just looking around and just kind of people watching, drinking in, and just looking around and thinking to myself, wow, there are so many people that are struggling with their weight, whether it be a little bit or really struggling with their weight. They're struggling in the heat, they're struggling to walk properly, they're struggling to be able to walk so that they're not in pain, whether that is having issues with the heat and having issues with sore skin, whether it's issues with the fact that the heat and the walking means that they're very breathless. People are struggling. I also sat in Scotland when I was away on holiday, and I sat down in the square and I thought exactly the same thing as I looked around. As a nation, we are really, really struggling. And this is something that's really, really sad, and it's something I've been doing more and more. I spend at least one day a month in the city, and I regularly sit at the train station in Waterloo watching the world go by. It's one of my favourite things to do, and if I have time after my meeting, I always try and go and sit on the South Bank and have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and I like to just watch the world go by for half an hour and kind of just drink everything in. And more and more, it hits me how much people are struggling. And I came into this industry to help people. I came into this industry to help people go on the journey that I've been in. I love helping people do the things they think that they can't do, helping them realize that they can. But more and more I see people are struggling, and I personally, it upsets me a lot when I see people that are that overweight, when I see people that are struggling that much. It personally upsets me that they are struggling and that they just need to get the help to help them make those smarter choices. Some of that comes down to education, which is some of the things that I try to provide. Some of that comes down to coaching and giving the big push, which obviously is something I try to provide with all of my clients. But for a lot of people, it's finding that ability to put yourself first. It's finding that ability to take some time out and actually recognize that you are worth spending the time on. You can't always put work first. You can't always put the rest of your family first. The only person that can put you first is you. And it's really sad and worrying that as a nation, we just simply struggle or feel unable to do that. And so that's really what my main aim for this new part of the business is to really start tackling that as head on as possible. And just, if people are struggling and they want that helping hand and they don't know what to do and they're confused about what they're being told in the press, online, by their friends, I want Fundamentally Fit Nutrition to be that place where they come to get honest advice, honest, practical and actionable coaching and advice to get you moving forward to a happier, healthier place. And one of the things that hit me really, really hard, and this is probably for some of you, this will seem like a really strange story, but go with me, because this has genuinely had a very profound effect on me over the last week. Now, running a business is incredibly challenging for a multitude of reasons, and I'm sure lots of people listening to this completely understand what I'm talking about. It's managing clients, it's managing sales, it's managing all of the accounts, it's doing the networking, it's keeping all of these things motivated, and it's keeping everything driving forward with you as the sole motivator to do everything. And it's something that is immensely challenging, it's immensely rewarding. I absolutely love it. Even when I hate it, I wouldn't want to be doing anything else, but it is a real challenge. And one of the things that I recognized a very, very long time ago is that for my brain not to explode, I have to have some mental downtime, as everybody does. And so one of my other big passions is movies. And I love movies. I love comic book movies. I love comic books. I am a complete geek at heart. I just love the escapism, the fantasy, the pure ridiculousness and impossibility of it all. But for me, I absolutely love that, and it works for me. And so part of my love of movies is that it just takes me to somewhere that's not the stress of my life, not the business. I love exercise, and that does a big part of that for me. But especially because I work in the fitness industry now, having something where I can completely tune out, it actually technically doesn't matter. It's really, really powerful, and it helps me get mental clarity to go back in and be a better coach and actually be a better business owner. And so a long, long time ago, I recognized this, and part of my almost daily routine is I will watch a YouTube channel which is all about movies, and it's all about movie reviews, and it's all about what's coming up at the cinema at the moment, who's directing what film, and it's just completely throwaway kind of popcorn type programs. And over the last 4 years, I have watched one particular channel almost probably 3 or 4 days per week, and one of the particular presenters, really charismatic, one of the nicest people you could hope to have never met, because it shows based in America. I've never met this guy. I've been watching him nearly every day for the last 4 years. Very sadly, very suddenly passed away. And so he had a very big stroke, and unfortunately, after a week of being in intensive care, he had the life support turned off and he passed away. Now, I will fully admit I've never met this chap. I've watched this show like every day or nearly every day for 4 years. Certainly during the week in my lunch break, it's nearly my go-to thing while I have half-hour break and have my lunch. But very, very sad that he passed away. Now, one of the very big things about this is that he wasn't very old. He was only 51, I believe, so very, very young. He also was famous for not liking sports. He was famous for not liking exercise. He was famous for, having a big appetite. He was clearly carrying lots of extra weight, and obviously living an American lifestyle that lots of people do. And unfortunately for him, he may have had other pre-existing conditions, but it was very apparent that his lifestyle had played a leading role in this condition and how it had come about. Can't say to what extent, because it's not something I have the privilege of knowing, but you can say without a shadow of doubt that his lifestyle would have played a leading role in that. And that is a real shame, because this individual has has entertained me, has inspired me, has been somebody that I've watched and listened to so much over the last 4 years. And this is to a large extent something that is preventable. And this story is not unique. And I'm fortunate at this particular point in my life where family members are still around. Death has not been a major feature. I know that, that's a very lucky thing to say at my age, and I'm very grateful for that. So maybe this has hit me harder because it's a realization of how fragile life can really be. But having had a client in the past who, in the recent past, who was very nearly had a very life-threatening condition, and because of the interventions that we'd made and because of the steps they'd taken, they'd managed to lose enough weight. Luckily, it didn't get to the stage where it was irreversible to the point that they could have lost their life, although it certainly was very close. And so it just reinforces that feeling that I have that people need to feel like they've got someone on their side. It reinforces the fact that people need that support and education. They need someone to remove that confusion, and people need to feel that it's okay to look after themselves. And so it's kind of, as sad as I am and disappointed I am at the passing of this individual, and all of the things that I've seen recently, it's just made me feel more driven and more passionate to help people overcome these issues, because fundamentally you have to want to make change. There's no doubt about that. You have to want to change. But if you are someone that is ready to make that change, I will be here ready to help you, and I will be here to help you make those changes and put them into place and give you the support and the guidance that you need. And in doing so, we can hopefully make you and myself and everybody else reducing those statistics and reducing the impact that we're all having in terms of the NHS and in terms of society as a whole. We can be a happier, healthier population. And then this kind of leads me into a concept that I came across, which I think ties this whole podcast together really, really well. And that is the law of inertia and the law of momentum. And so the law of inertia. So the law of inertia, an object at rest will stay at rest until acted upon by an outside force. So I'll say that again. The law of inertia is this. An object at rest will stay at rest until acted upon by an outside force. So what that means is that if you are stuck doing nothing, nothing will change until usually you get a big kick up the bum. That usually comes in the form of pain. And that usually comes in a form that we're not happy about. Whether that is you are so unhappy that your clothes don't fit, whether you are so unhappy that the doctor has just told you that you're pre-diabetic, whether you are so unhappy that your family's health, in my case, was so bad that it spurred me into making those changes and looking after myself. But whatever it is, the law of inertia states that you will stay at rest until acted upon by an outside force. So what will that outside force be? If you are stuck right now, and you'd like to make a change, but you're not sure what or how you're going to do it, what would it take for you to make that change? Would it be being diagnosed with a condition? Would it be, your clothes not fitting? Or would it be, as in some cases, would it be a health scare? Would it be a major health scare? And if you're waiting for a major health scare, and this might sound strange, but I've had conversations with clients regularly, but not irregularly in the past, where quite often they are passively waiting for a major health scare before they are prepared to take their health and their momentum seriously. And so I've had this conversation where saying to people, you're at risk of a heart attack, you're at risk of this, you're at risk of that, and it doesn't hit the sides. And then when you say to me, what would it take for you to make these changes and to actually set that time aside to actually do it? And it is not an uncommon answer for people to say, do you know what, if I had a heart attack, if I was diagnosed with this, if I was diagnosed with that, that would probably scare me into taking action. And if you're in that position, that's a pretty scary place to be. So don't let that be you. Don't wait for that outside force to make you act. Be so serious that the ability to reverse it becomes diminished or makes it so that it is much harder for you to get the momentum you need to make the changes to get to where you really need to be. So the opposite side of the law of inertia, we have the law of momentum. And the law of momentum states that an object in motion will stay in motion until it meets a resisting force. Now, the thing about momentum is it's too precious to lose. It's a gift that comes far too rarely. If you feel compelled to act, then go for it. As you get going, you will find that you gather pace and you get enormous amounts of accomplishment. Often I'm happy to sit up late working on my business, writing blogs, writing emails, but I do it because I don't want to break the momentum, because I want to finish that job and then move on to the next one. Now, of course, if you don't act, you become governed by the law of inertia. You become static until something comes and pushes you. And the best way to describe this is that inertia weighs you down. It's the static feeling that makes you feel stuck. It takes more and more effort to get moving and to get momentum. Momentum, on the other hand, is that feeling of being in flow. It's the rush. It's the domain of creativity. It's the place where you feel able to tackle new challenges, whether that is learning how to manage your diet, learning how to get to the gym, learning new exercises, taking on new challenges, running events, Tough Mudders, whatever it is. It's that feeling of flow and momentum that pushes you from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Inertia is static. It's that feeling of being stuck, and it's that feeling of not going anywhere. Momentum is hard to build, but once you have it, it gives you flow, and it's something that you can ride to get to that place that you need to be. So that is the law of inertia, the law of momentum. I'm actually going to be writing a blog on this later in the week with a bit more detail. So head over to fundamentallyfit.co.uk where you can find that. When I'm finished, I'll try and link it up below if I remember. But that is today's podcast. Quite a long one. Not the cheeriest, I will admit. But there's some really important topics in there. And there's some really important kind of principles about why I do what I do, and why I am having these conversations with you, because I'd love you all to come and work with me. Of course I would. I'd love you to come and work with me so I can help you. I'd love you to come and work with me so my business is more successful, because that means everybody wins. But ultimately, if you never get in touch with me, if you never interact with me on Facebook, and if you never tag me on Instagram, it doesn't matter. If you listen to this podcast each week and you take away something that helps you make a small but meaningful change, then I am absolutely okay, happy and delighted to have been able to help you do that. And I hope that you enjoy this podcast, and I hope you find it useful, as lots of people feedback to me that they do. But don't be afraid to get in touch and ask questions. Don't be afraid to drop me an email and say, hey, what do I do about this? Hey, how do I do this? Hey, here's a great question for the podcast. Can you answer this? Because I'm always more than happy to do that. And I do feature questions regularly when people do ask. So that is today's podcast. It's all been about the law of inertia, how to build that momentum, and also how to basically take a step back, look at your own lifestyle, and actually make some positive change. So I hope you've enjoyed having me back on the airways, back in your car, back in your ears, on your commute to work, whatever it may be. But if you would like some support and if you would like some help, then please do head over to the brand new website, fundamentallyfitnutrition.com, where you will be able to be linked up down below, be able to find all of our brand new services. You'll be able to find our food diary analysis, our 3 hours weight loss program, our meal plans, and of course our brand new free kitchen audit available to download, no strings attached. And you'll also have access to an exclusive webinar where I will be talking you through some of those dietary changes that you could be making today. Right, that is it for today's podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. I've loved being back. Next week we'll make it a little bit more cheery, I promise. But give us a like, give us a thumbs up, give us a review over on iTunes, and I will be back next week. Have a fantastic week. Don't melt in the warm weather, but if you can, get yourselves to an air-conditioned gym, because there's no excuses, If not, try and get out for a walk in the evening or do your training first thing in the morning. And if you're struggling with all that water, head over to Facebook, because I've just shared a brand new recipe for how to make my Mix It Up iced tea. So that's me, Andy Strong, with the Fundamentally Fit podcast. I look forward to seeing you next time.